Welcome to California in Focus. I'm Dave Mason, the Southwest editor with the Center Square. I'm here today with Kenneth Trump, the California reporter for the Center Square. So the state has learned that more than $34 billion has been spent on homelessness. But the big question is, what has come from that money? What has been the results of that financing? And Kenneth, what has the money gone for?
Hey, Dave. Well, if you build it, they will come. And the more money that California has spent on homelessness, the more homeless it has accumulated. A lot of these people don't even come from California and became homeless elsewhere and were bussed in. This is because a Greyhound ticket costs only $100, $200 at the most. Meanwhile, the federal government estimates that a homeless individual costs about $40,000 a year in local emergency services. That's not even including a lot of the homeless services that are funded. In places like Los Angeles and San Francisco, we can see homeless spending sometimes reach almost $100,000 a year per person, which is, as we know, a lot more than the median wage for a full-time job, salaried job in California. That's why U.S. Attorney Bill Essayli, who until recently was one of the most outspoken Republicans in the state legislature until his appointment by Donald Trump, is starting his investigation into California's homelessness, so-called homeless industrial complex, which does tend to reward programs based on the number of homeless served, not actual results, meaning that there's little incentive to reduce the total number of homeless.
I see. So if you have more homeless people that you're serving, you get more money, regardless of whether the program is making any progress in addressing the problem.
What's interesting is state audits show that the state and local governments aren't even tracking whether these organizations are doing what they say they're going to do or are doing what they were paid to do. So in theory, yes, by having these programs' performance tied to the number served, we're not encouraging the number of homeless individuals to go down at all. But it doesn't even seem clear that this money is actually resulting in the programs that we are paying for.
What kind of oversight is there on programs like this?
The state audits have found there is no oversight, essentially. The money is paid out when the receipts come in, and there aren't checks as to whether there was actually any work done. So we don't really have oversight.
Now, recently, there's been some defunding of an agency that was a joint agency between the city and the county of Los Angeles. And what has happened with that?
Right. There have been a number of audits of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Agency, which is this joint continuum of care mega agency that's funded by LA County and the city of Los Angeles. This is a agency with a $1 billion a year budget that provides care for, I believe, 75,000 homeless individuals across the city and county. The county last week voted to defund the agency. Los Angeles, which is now essentially the main municipality funding the agency, doesn't actually still have a full say in the agency because of a joint powers agreement with the county. So with the county pulling out funding, city is also looking to pull out funding. There's a big battle going on here over the funding from something called Measure A, which created a half-cent sales tax across LA County to fund homeless services based on the number of homeless individuals in the jurisdiction. So it seems like LA County wants to get this Measure A money to fund homeless within the unincorporated parts of the county. The funding will be allocated to, I believe, the 88 cities in the LA County, according to the number of homeless that they do have. I believe about 45,000 of LA County's homeless are in the city of Los Angeles. So about a little more than half of the $1 billion a year in anticipated revenue from the measure will go to LA for homelessness spending and can be spent on a wide variety of programs.
And is there any discussion about what the real solutions might be? Because it seems like we're spending so much money, but without visible results.
Well, it depends what one really considers to be a solution. There's the issue of people from all across governments from all across the country sending their homeless populations here. There's very little discussion of how to solve that. I believe in some papers by LASA, we've seen estimates that about 35% of homeless individuals have been in LA County for less than 10 years. We're not exactly sure the breakdown of when they last became homeless or where their last place of residence was. So that this data is really unavailable. If we had more granular data knowing how long people have been here, where their last actual lease or like true residence was, probably have a better idea of how we want to address some of the inflow from other places. Obviously, we have a major mental illness issue. Something like over 80% of individuals who are homeless, as noted in the Benioff Center at UC Berkeley's homelessness study, are found to have had serious mental illness. This means that it's going to be really hard for any of these people to ever have a job and be net taxpayers. It doesn't seem fair that local cities might have to shoulder the entire cost of this. Where are these people going to go? What are the rights of people who go into institutions for mental health? In the 60s and 70s, we had a large national debate after One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest became a major motion picture and novel that captured the hearts and minds of America about perfectly sane people getting caught in institutions. There were also a lot of studies done at the time where fake patients who are completely sane, including psychiatrists themselves, were sent into mental hospitals and found to be completely insane and not released. So we don't really know how we're going to create a system where perfectly sane people aren't unfairly locked up in these facilities. How are we going to make these facilities funded fairly so that no single municipality is carrying the fiscal burden or having the entire population focused in it? A lot of people have talked about putting homeless in poorer parts of California, like in the middle of the desert, into large camps. We don't know if that's really fair to the people who live around there. I don't think anybody really wants a mega encampment in their backyard. So another aspect, of course, is housing. We don't really build enough housing in California to keep costs low enough for you to be able to support yourself on a minimum wage. There's one kind of housing that was allowed for a long time called single room occupancy, where you would really rent a room in an area with a lot of common amenities. The common areas would have bathroom, kitchen, etc. That housing is largely illegal in California and really was a homeless housing of last resort option before becoming actually homeless, because these were relatively cheap. So there's talk of bringing that back. Probably not going to happen. And then there's also discussion of whether or not we're going to give out money to people who refuse to engage in mental health or substance abuse treatment. San Francisco is leading the way on that. They actually have now stopped giving out money to people who do not participate in substance abuse treatment. They previously were giving out money to many people, especially without even having a real residency requirement. So you could just show up in San Francisco, start collecting money, cash it out, and use it to fund your drug habit. That's now ending. That wasn't a program that was really common across California, but we are seeing some progress. But clearly, the money is not going towards solutions that are working.
Well, it is a monumental problem, and I think people of all sides agree there are no easy answers. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops in the future. And that's it for California Focus. I'm Dave Mason here with Kenneth Trump. For more news, please go to thecentersquare.com.